Hi, I'm Priya Kanchandani and I'm Head of Curatorial at the Design Museum, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to this very special preview launch for our upcoming exhibition, Charlotte Perriand, The Modern Life, which opens to the public here at the Design Museum in London on the 19th of June. Today, International Women's Day, is a fitting day to celebrate the life and works of Charlotte Perriand, who is a giant of 20th century design. As a female pioneer of the modern world, Perriand's work was often outshadowed by her more famous male counterparts. However, in recent years, her reputation as a furniture designer and architect has come to match the stature of her peers, and she has become recognised as a free spirit who championed good design for all. The video you're about to see is a first look at the exhibition. You'll be seeing an exclusive sneak preview including some of the sketches, photographs, scrapbooks, prototypes, and final pieces. I wanted to thank you for your ongoing support, and we very much look forward to welcoming you back to the museum very soon. So all that remains is for me to say thank you and sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello, my name is Esme Hawes, Assistant Curator at the Design Museum. To mark International Women's Day, we celebrate an extraordinary design pioneer and her enduring legacy. Charlotte Perriand was one of the great designers of the 20th century. Her long career charts the history of modernism itself, from the machine aesthetic to organic forms and from industry to craftsmanship. Her attitudes towards furniture, domestic space and mass housing and leisure pursued modernist ambitions, and through her design she attempted to improve the quality of everyday life. Her work was often overshadowed by her more famous male collaborators, who included artists and designers like Le Corbusier, Pierre Jeanneret and Jean Prouvé. But in recent years, her reputation as a successful furniture designer and architect has matched the stature of her peers. From the 1920s onwards, she was instrumental in bringing the modernist aesthetic to interiors, but she also believed in the synthesis of the arts and was a keen collaborator and team player with many of her contemporaries. This retrospective exhibition maps Perriand's journey from the machine aesthetic to her adoption of natural forms, and from modular furniture systems to major architectural projects such as Les Arcs ski resort. Featuring large-scale reconstructions of some of her most famous interiors, as well as her original furniture, her photography, and her own personal notebooks, the exhibition will shed new light on Perriand's creative process and her place in design history.
Perriand has this unbelievable spirit and exuberance and energy. She's huge. Her legacy is massive. She championed better design, make a better world. In terms of how she inspired me as an architect, I think the range of what she looked at, so she would look at the micro and the macro, so everything from small intimate pieces of furniture up to large-scale plans for the ski resorts that she did. And so I think my studio, I like to work in the same way. I don't think it's demeaning as an architect to be looking at furniture, and I think there was something rather dismissive of the architecture profession. She's a woman, she's doing interiors. And interestingly, I think that we can absolutely say that Charlotte Perriand single-handedly spawned this entire profession of what we now call interior architecture. She had this idea that going back to basics was the right thing, and not interested in styles and fashions. She went right back to the raw, naked ambition of making the world a better place. And she had this incredible egalitarian approach. She believed in the power of design to make a better world. She had this tremendous vision. There's a huge relevance in what she was doing then, almost 100 years ago. We still have to recalibrate and rethink how we want to live. We have huge planet issues to face, and also I think the post-pandemic, we need to think about caring for one another, and that's something that my profession, my fellow architects, I believe that we have to take up that mantle now.
Charlotte Perriand has inspired my work in a huge way, and I think many designers feel the same way. She's really, was a modern pioneer of design for her time. You know, what specifically inspires me and where the philosophy is so much akin to mine is that the base of the design is really rooted in purpose and use. So rather than in trend or aesthetic, you're really starting with, well, what is the purpose of this object? So when I design any piece, I first think about the journey and the unique purpose that it's meant to serve. So you need hidden pockets to access your essentials along the way, or smaller modular components that can clip out and become smaller bags, and you put your bigger bag in the coat check. I'm really thinking through all of these things, which is very much how Charlotte designed as well. The collection of pieces that I've named after Charlotte Perriand, they have this really intricate hand-woven braiding design detail. It's a type of detail that doesn't scream at you, but yet you know how special it is. And the weaving in particular is really an homage to a lot of the weaving techniques that she brought into her work after her time in Japan and Vietnam. Charlotte Perriand was a trailblazer for women in design. She really became known as a pioneer in a very male-driven design field. And, you know, especially at that time, you know, famously, the story of her when she wanted to get started, she loved Le Corbusier's work because he was also really pioneering making design available to larger amounts of people. And so she wanted to work for him, and she went to his studio to speak to him about getting a job. And he took one look at her as a woman and said, "I'm sorry, we don't embroider cushions here." And so she left. She didn't embroider cushions, but he just assumed because she was a woman. And it wasn't until a few months later that he happened to see some of her work, and by coincidence said, "Who is this? This is amazing." And someone said, "Well, this is actually the woman who came in to work for you." And then, of course, he then apologized and brought her into the studio. But it was, you know, this idea that really has spoken to me, and not just for women, but anyone who's trying to break molds and break boundaries, that you just let the work do the talking. And if you believe you have something to give and something to offer, a value in the field that you're trying to offer, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or what you look like, just let the work do the talking and believe that that will rise to the top.
I mean, it's interesting that Le Corbusier took her into the fold in a way, because he recognized that actually she was extremely good at it. I mean, both Généré and Corbusier took the credit for some of the things that Charlotte designed herself, and history clarified that more recently. But you know, these were her ideas and her solutions. She had this sort of bold, fearless, strident need to take care of us, constantly coming up with new solutions, and I really admire her for that.
I'd say that Perriand was a trailblazer. She really thought outside the box and tried to sort of push the boundaries of what design is.
I think as a woman, I don't believe that she thought, well, I'm a female and I'm going to trailblaze. It's more she thought, you know, I have a great vision and I have talent and I want to be part of this.
Things have clearly moved on in terms of the role. I have a lot of architects who are female working in my studio, actually. It's changing because of the legacy of people like Charlotte Perriand.
Today, even though the design industry still suffers from gender bias at the highest levels, the role of women is really being realigned. It's truly encouraging that the contribution of designers like Perriand to design discourse is being fully recognised.